And I entitled my study for today, See That Ye Be Not Troubled. Do you recognize where this quotation is taken from? No. Second letter of Paul to whom? Okay. You'll find the answer in the study. Once somebody approached Jesus with a question. And they said unto him, Why do the disciples of John fast often, and make prayers, and likewise the disciples of the Pharisees, but thine eat and drink? And he said unto them, Can ye make the children of the bride chamber fast, while the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come, when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. John the Baptist was in prison, and his disciples, they failed to understand the mission of John. They failed to understand who is Jesus and what is his mission. And they were very sad that their master or teacher is in prison. And they were very upset with Jesus, that Jesus seemed that he was ignorant, completely ignorant what happened to John. And they were fasting and praying, and then the Pharisees, of course, used that as an opportunity, because they always try to create a disagreement or sow the doubts in the Jesus' disciples' minds. And they came with a question. Why? Look at these people. They are fasting and praying. Why your disciples don't do the same? In Desire of Ages, page 276, just one sentence. Fasting was practiced by the Jews as an act of merit, and the most rigid among them fasted 2 days in every week. Now, for their health, looking from the perspective of as for our body, is it good to fast twice a week?
I read one a week.
Yes, I also know the recommendation 1 a week. Okay, let's say these people went to the utmost twice a week. How about for their spiritual life? Was it healthy that they were fasting? Religion without content, a religion which were not giving rest to those who were practicing that kind of religion. Were Pharisees keeping the Sabbath? Yes, they were keeping. I'm not saying sanctifying, but they were keeping it. Were Pharisees paying their tithes? Yes. Were Pharisees fasting and praying? Oh, yes, they were. Were Pharisees accurate in fulfilling the law?
I don't know.
As to the letter, they were accurate. And all these good people, keeping the Sabbath, paying the tithe, praying, fasting, keeping the law, one day they just realized that the glory has departed and they're about to die. And they really died in that day, of the day of destruction of Jerusalem in 70 of AD. They were crying, Ikavod, the glory is departed. Now, why these people perished? A paradox. Those who were fasting and making prayers, they perished during the destruction of Jerusalem. Those who were accused that they're eating and drinking, they escaped. None of them died during the destruction of Jerusalem. Why? Why those people who were really making some efforts for their religion, practical efforts like fasting, making prayers, being very accurate with the tithe, why they perished, while those who enjoyed time with Jesus, they were eating, and they were even, on the Sabbath, as they walked through the field of wheat, what they were doing? Plucking and eating, and immediately they were accused. How could you do such a thing on the Sabbath? So those people who were believed or who were assumed as the violators of the Sabbath, none of them perished during the destruction of Jerusalem, while those with religious people who were making great efforts, all of them perished. Why? It's a paradox. Well, there is no paradox, It's just, I'm saying it's a paradox, but there is an answer for that. We'll come back to this paradox. Speaking about Paul, as in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6 to 8, we read, "For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing." Paul was about to become a martyr. He knew that, the decree was signed that he is to be killed. And in his letter he was writing, my time came. I am to depart very soon. If not tomorrow, then the day after tomorrow. But he was not troubled. As you read his words, it didn't seem that he was worried or he was stressed about. He was calm, relaxed. He says, I know whom I believed. I know the crown is waiting for me. While other people, in about the same time when Paul was killed in Rome, in about those years, couple years later, in the temple, on the holy mountain, on the Zion, they were crying desperately, Ikavod, the glory has departed. They were really in trouble. Speaking about us, the time of trouble is soon to come. And we read in Daniel chapter 12, verse 1, "And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book." I would like to emphasize one phrase. Thy people shall be what? Delivered. Now, if you have a guarantee that you will be delivered, do you have a reason to be stressed? Not at all. Logically, no. And why people get stressed? Why we get restless? Looking into future, people look with fear. Actually, all this subject, all this study today is about one thing, what's going on among the Adventists, which I would like to share my thoughts on that. And you'll understand what it's about, why I'm bringing this time of trouble in attention. Are you afraid of big waves? A question. Raise your hand. Who is afraid of big waves? But he's not. Look at that wave. Look how small that person compared to that wave. And that's not the biggest wave. I've seen bigger. He's not afraid. One day, a ship came to the shore, and as people were walking down the stairs, and one lady met her family greeting her there at the port, says, "Wow, I thought that I will sing. We were about to sink. There was such a great storm, such a big waves. I thought this is it." And a captain passing by, and one of the relatives who was meeting that lady says, "Captain, there was a really big storm." I said, "Storm? There was no storm." I said, "It was just a big waves, but it's regular for this time of a year. There was no storm." You see how different people differently see those waves. For him, there was no storm. There was nothing to worry. It's just regular for this season. While for that lady, she thought, "This is it. I'm going to die." Why? And he saith unto them, Jesus, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. Disciples, experienced people, they were not first-time travelers on the ocean. They were experienced, and they were really scared of what was going on that lake. And it was not a sea; it was just a lake. Yeah, it's a great big lake. You can have the waves like on the sea, but those experienced males were really threatened. They were afraid that this is it. And Jesus rebuked them, "O ye of little faith." So why that lady thought that she's going to die? Why captain declared there was no storm? Faith is based on the word. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. There is certain things, if you know, that eliminates your fear. It pushes it away. Jesus, he told in Matthew chapter 24, verse 25, "Behold, I have told you before," or literal translation, beforehand. I mean, in advance, I've told you. So when that things which I told you will come, you don't be threatened. Because I told you that this and this and this is going to happen. And when you will see that happening, don't be afraid. Because I've told you about that. I warned you. Intimidated for the lack of knowledge. Many people have fear of future because they don't know what's going to happen in the future. And this is why they're afraid. Now a question, why they don't know? Don't they have the great controversy on their shelf? I'm talking about the Adventists. I'm not talking about those who don't have the great controversy and they don't want even to read that book. Don't we have the Daniel and Revelation? Busy with life. We don't have time to know about the future. And this is why we are threatened by the events around us. News. It's here. It's there. Oh, it's now everywhere. See this. Read this. What the Pope has said. I composed this little rhyme with myself, so I try to express how some people, they see the events. Oh, there is earthquake. Oh, there is tsunami. Oh, there is a hurricane. Or there is that. Or there is that. Oh, for example, one practical example. About half a year ago, the Pope of Rome, Roman Catholic Church leader, he, in his interview or on one of these assemblies, he suggested that all the bankers should meet together and create one universal bank. So to balance the world economy, because it's really unbalanced. Some are in great debt, some have access, and some countries are third world, what they say, and some are very rich. And all these economical disbalances could be leveled by creating one international or one worldwide bank. I would never know about this until I meet this news on one of the Adventist websites. They made really big deal out of that. And that news was on the top of the news, that the the most important, that everybody, as you come to the page, you have to read it. It's on very top. And they were commenting that this is the approaching, and that's this, that you see how and they were involving here that you won't be able to sell and buy because look what they want to create, the worldwide bank, and that's all about that. Okay, there was many banks. Now it will be one bank, and what? How or what that bank has to do with my salvation? The problem is, it's like a bunny and eggs. How they are connected to the resurrection of Jesus? How the green tree with the toys on it, or the Christmas, Santa Claus, how is that connected to the birth of Jesus? In no way. So how the bank can be connected to the future event which are prophesied, and we know what's going to happen? How is that connected? Look, let it be one bank. Let be no banks. If the prophecy said that because I keep the Sabbath, the time will come, I won't be able to buy and sell. It doesn't matter how that will happen. One bank, many banks, or no bank, with cash in a pocket or no cash in a pocket, I won't be able to sell and buy. But people take things and they threaten, they intimidate people. Look that event, look that, look what they said, look what the Obama said, look what happened, look that person is a Catholic and he's in the Senate of the United States. Oh, look what happened there. Missing to understand. Now, we beseech you, brethren, be by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come. And he continues. So what Paul was saying, except that come, already was fulfilled. So that part is not applicable for our time or days today. But we living today in the 21st century, after except there come, there is some other prophecies what we can substitute what was Paul saying in his time. This phrase, the day of the Lord will not come except or until there is something fulfilled. There are certain prophecies has to be fulfilled before the end. Before the end comes, what do we know? The freedom, liberty to be taken away. Do we have that? No. Until the gays have freedom and the gay marriage is okay in the United States, we can stay calm. Because according to the spirit of prophecy, the national movement for the Sunday law will not start with the Sunday law. It will start with a good purpose, raising the morality of society. And the conservative Christians, they will stand up for morality of our United States society, and they will raise their voice against all kind of adulteries. And then they will stand for the Ten Commandments. There is a website, and there is even the Ten Commandments Day. Did you know about that? But if you go to their website, or this movement for Ten Commandments, everything is just as God designed, except for one thing. Saying Sabbath, they mean Sunday. So as long as those people enjoy their freedom, we can stay calm. Sunday law to be enforced. Do we have that today? No. No, it's not enforced. The news here and there, or in certain countries like in Serbia, they passed the law that on Sunday the stores has to be closed. And what? But did they say that the churches has to be closed on Saturday? No. So until they say that we have to keep our church closed on Sabbath, on the seventh day of the week, on Saturday, we can stay calm. Fear because of the lack of knowledge. Say ye not a confederacy or conspiracy to all them to whom these people shall say, a confederacy or conspiracy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. So some people, they have fears. They are afraid of something. But why or what's causing that fear? Lack of knowledge. Lack of understanding the prophecies for our days and the days to come. We have the sure word of prophecy. I want to bring you one example. Just look at the images on the screen. This image, I don't know who is the author. They're trying to bring, or they're trying to, by drawing some lines, they're trying to make 666 from the $1 bill. There is another attempt making, you know that Latin numbers from the bottom of the $1 bill? So somehow they make 666 out of that. Look, it's even measuring the circle on a $1 bill. If you count those little lines, there's 18 of them, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. Even the barcode has 3 sixes in it. You know, if these ideas are promoted by, let's say, so-called Christians, the other churches which are not studying the Daniel Revelation, which are not keeping the Sabbath, I understand that somehow they must find a certain explanation for 666. And if that is not what they could connect to Sunday keeping, then they must find a substitute, as something what would explain would explain 666. But when Adventists look at this and they see something which say, wow, that makes sense, that is really surprising. How this could make sense to an Adventist? And true Adventist who is studying prophecies of Daniel and Revelation, this is nonsense. 666 is no way connected to dollar bill. That has nothing to do with that number. Or there is many other theories. I just brought you a couple. But there is many other theories explaining 666. And unfortunately, some of those theories you can find on the so-called Adventist website, or websites published by Adventist pastors. Know the basics. There is a certain basic what we need to know about the prophecies, about the future. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that ye take heed, as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. Brothers and sisters, we are not to be intimidated, scared, or to be afraid of all these kind of conspiracy ideas, conspiracy theories, all this, forming one worldwide bank or some similar theories, or there is, the main bishop said that, or the main man in the Senate is the Catholic. And what? Why we have to be scared of that? Don't you know that that's what's going to happen? I remember Moses. God said, go on the mountain. You're going to die there. Do you think that Moses was, what should I do? What should I do? I'm going to die tomorrow. What should I do? Do you think that Moses was like that? Did he know that he's going to die? And can you imagine Moses being, excited, or not excited, or threatened, and that he was stressed, that he didn't know what to do? No, I don't believe it was that way. And the spirit of prophecy describes that it was not that way. But some of our people, the Sunday law even didn't come. It's still a future event. I hope it happens during my life. I really want that happen during my lifetime. But it's not here yet. But some people, they take these little events here and there, and they publish them on their websites, and they intimidate people. And those who don't know what's going to happen, they really get scared. What's going to happen? We're on the edge to collapse. I know that we are going to collapse. I know. And what? Why have to be stressed that we are going to collapse tomorrow if I know that we are going to collapse tomorrow? Not we, but we as nation, as United States. Because we know that from prophecy. I would like you to really pay attention to this statement. They have not God. They have not the hope which reaches to that within the veil, which is as an anchor to the soul, both sure and steadfast. All who possesses this hope will purify themselves even as he is pure. Such are free from restless longings, repenings, and discontent. They are not continually looking for evil and brooding over borrowed trouble. But we see many who are having a time of trouble beforehand. Anxiety is stamped upon every feature. They seem to find no consolation, but have a continual fearful looking for of some dreadful evil. Some people, they begin to live the time of trouble today. Why? Because God designed so? No, they themselves do for themselves a time of trouble. Those who have sure hope in Jesus, those who got the message, what means that my faith riches there in heaven, and they grasp with their face the hand of Jesus, they are free from restless. They are free from borrowed troubles. While others are restless, they're anxious of what's going to happen tomorrow. They cannot find consolation. And they live in continual fear. Don't run until you see the sign. If you read Matthew chapter 24, Jesus said, you will hear about the diseases and wars and nation against nation. Don't be troubled, that's not the end. And you will hear about the earthquakes and that and that. That's just the beginning of sorrow. And then you will be persecuted, and there will be false prophet, and you will be accused, and there will be false Christ among you. And many of you, some of apostatite. That's still not the end. And the gospel will be preached. That's still not the end. You know what? And then he said, and when you will see the sign standing on the holy place, then run. You see, Jesus, and then if you continue reading, Jesus said, I told you beforehand. I told you this in advance so you don't live in fear. And even when the time of trouble comes, we shouldn't be afraid. Why? Because we just read a while ago, thy people will be delivered from that time of trouble if their names in the book of heaven, in the book of life. So what should be our worry today? Is my name in the book of life? And once we get that surety of salvation, once we overstep our human nature and believe the power of His grace, once we accept Jesus with His forgiveness, because it's there, we just don't believe in it. We are lacking faith to trust that our sins, once we confess, are forgiven. If we live with a constant guilt, yes, guilt brings fear, because once you feel guilty, like Jacob, why he was in trouble? Because he was carrying throughout the years all this guilt until he grasped with faith, with a contrite heart inside, but a strong hands of faith. He grasped that messenger, says, I will not let you go until you bless me. His time of trouble was over. So if we have guilt, that is causing fear of tomorrow. What if I die tonight? I'm not ready. What if Jesus comes next year? I'm not ready. That what is causing fear. And of course, lack of knowledge, as I presented. Because if you don't know the prophecies, if you don't know the sequence of events, if you don't know what is the sign of the mark of the beast, if you don't know what is 666, where it comes from, and to whom belongs it to, then you have enough reasons to be scared of tomorrow. But once you know the prophecies, once you grasp that hand, you have rest. Well, Jesus promised, come and I'll give you rest. The last Bible verse I want to read in this study, Matthew 6:34. I brought with the purpose in two different translations. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. I like the literal translation, be not therefore anxious for the morrow. It's not talking about the thinking or planning for tomorrow. We need to plan. I have plans for tomorrow. We have plans to have a general conference, and we are working toward that. We have projects. So we are thinking of tomorrow, and we even stressed of what's going to happen. The general conference, it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of work to be done. It's a lot of planning. So we are thinking of tomorrow. But be not anxious for the tomorrow. Don't be stressed. Don't be threatened of tomorrow. For the morrow shall be anxious for its own thing. Sufficient for the day is the evil of it. I mean, we have today enough things, enough troubles to take care of. We don't need to think about tomorrow in this perspective. So the conclusion of this study, we don't have to be threatened if we don't have reasons. But if we are living with guilt, that's a good reason to be afraid of tomorrow. And if we don't know what is the mark of the beast, if we don't know about the prophecy that you won't be able to sell and buy, and when that will be fulfilled, and how, you have enough reasons to be afraid of tomorrow. Two things we need to do. Study the prophecies. And our faith, our anchor of if to present my heart as a sheep, the anchor should be there within the veil. And once we grasp the hand of Jesus, we will stay calm. We'll have rest. We won't be anxious about tomorrow. Restless will not be my description about me, but calm and with peace inside. That should be our description. Amen.